In 2015, Marvel Comics announced a new Blade series from Tim Seeley and Logan Faerber. Sadly, that Blade series, starring a different character than our typical Daywalker, never released, and since then, the creative team also left that series. However, in the free comic book day Avengers X-Men issue, Bloodline made her debut. While the character doesn't go by Blade, she's actually the daughter of Blade. And essentially, Marvel Comics is looking to kind of capitalize on a Buffy the Vampire Slayer-esque twist with the Bloodline character. My name is Ariko Braddock, and today let's go ahead and cover the first official chapter of Briellebrooks' kind of life as Bloodline with Bloodline, Daughter of Blade, #1. But before we get deeper into the issue, I want to go ahead and encourage you to consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that like button if you enjoy our content. Next up, I want to read off the solicitation text behind this latest issue to get you caught up to speed on all the context behind the story. It's in her blood. Briellebrooks is a good kid, no matter what her teachers say. It's not her fault she's developing vampiric superpowers and the undead want to brawl. And as if problems at school aren't enough, Bree's got a wild ride ahead of her. She's about to discover she's the daughter of the infamous vampire hunter and Daywalker known as Blade. I want to introduce our creative team on Bloodline, Daughter of Blade. This issue is written by Danny Lohr, illustrated by Darboe, colored by Cris Peter, and lettered by VC's Joe Sabino. The cover for the issue is drawn by Darboe with Cris Peter. And I want to show off the cover right now. Big thanks to Adventures in Poor Taste for posting this preview of the issue so fast. Really enjoy this cover here, showing off both Bloodline and Blade over from Darboe. I think kind of the unique artistic side of the issue is kind of shown off a little bit here through the kind of cover alone, thanks to some of the facial expressions on the character and also the really interesting way this cover is arranged from a compositional standpoint, with the kind of villainous characters in the background being kind of sucked into Brielle's blade. And let's go ahead and show off some interior art for the series. I want to start things off by talking about Darboe's art in the issue. As you can see here, I love how Darboe kind of, paces the page. Darboe does a great job finding a balance between being a really coherent artist and a really expressive artist, as these characters are kind of nimble and emoting on each page. Yet they're so clear and easily defined. In this page where Brielle is enjoying a meal with her mother, we see she's kind of giving a kind of negative facial expression. And even though she has a secondary action, Darboe is still able to get the expression on Brielle's face, which I think is no small feat here, considering how many different things are going on in this scene. Also, there's great moments of action here as some of the vampires come out a little bit later on in the issue as well. And just from a compositional standpoint, whenever the action does ensue in the issue, I love kind of the creative ways that the composition is arranged with panels in strange places, characters like hair or arms kind of bleeding out of the panels. I think it makes the issue really kind of come alive and read very simply, very cohesively. Just the almost on every page, there's something interesting to look at from the kind of expressions and layouts alone. I think this book looks incredibly bold when you take it and you compare it to any other kind of title on store shelves. It's good to have when your story calls for a younger character, it's very important to have more expressive artwork so you can capture kind of the full range of emotion. And in addition to capturing, almost every emotion on the page, Darboe lends an additional sense of style thanks to the interesting composition. So I really love the artwork here in this Bloodline Daughter of Blade issue and wanted to go ahead and talk about it in depth. So I really enjoy how the issue kind of charts the progression of Brielle as a character. I do like how the issue kind of establishes the setting of Atlanta for Brielle, and we get kind of the slow introduction to her family lineage, which she isn't aware of until much later in the issue. I always love stories that have more of like a slow burn that don't sort of give away all their cards like right at the onset of the issue. So just getting this slow introduction to Brielle as a vampire hunter is really interesting throughout the issue. I really actually liked the comparisons that I was able to draw between this and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I remember towards the beginning of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, there was always kind of something niche and funny about a, kind of like young lady hunting down vampires in the middle of the night. And I feel like this issue kind of captures some of that humor and some of that enthusiasm from the Buffy series in some of these moments where Brielle goes out in the middle of the night and sort of, hunts for vampires. Also, I like how things in Brielle's world are starting to get a little bit crazier than usual with these vampires coming out as well. I really like the way that, the creative team kind of balances out Brielle's school versus her vampire hunting too. I think Danny Lord does a great job kind of fleshing out the dual life of Brielle. And also, again, it just reminds me of Buffy, the way that series was so kind of like intricately paced with, Buffy and Willow and Xander going to certain classes while they were just, obsessed with talking about demons. I think that same kind of vibe is introduced here, but instead of feeling like a copy, it feels like certain aspects of the Marvel Universe can be introduced to make this book seem even more appealing than it would have been otherwise. I really enjoy the fact that the cliffhanger of this issue makes it so that the stakes of the comic feel much higher than they would have otherwise. There's a really sort of kind of like exciting and like action packed twist at the end that enhances the scope of Bloodline to be focused on more than just Brielle as a character. And I really think that if we kind of get some interesting Marvel Universe characters introduced into the series in later issues, we could be onto something really special throughout this series. But again, I just love kind of the really slow burn of this issue and the very close attention to detail that the entire creative team has. The writing from Danny Lore is just really well paced in this issue. And the artwork from Karen Darboe is absolutely gorgeous. And, again, these pages are laid out incredibly well. So those were my thoughts on the first chapter of Bloodline Daughter of Blade #1. I thought this was a pretty great issue that evoked a lot of warm memories of really kind of solid character introductions. And again, I think the thing that really helps this issue is the fact that the cliffhanger brings up a different part of the narrative, and it feels like there's stakes that are bigger than that just pertain directly to kind of Brielle or Bloodline in this story. So I really hope that Marvel takes a special care with the Bloodline character. And I want to know what some of your thoughts were on this issue. Did you enjoy, some of the artwork from Karen Darboe and some of the writing from Danny Lore as much as I did? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for coming to check out the video. And we're going to be back really soon with more excellent comic book content. We'll see you soon. Bye.